Fiesta forever, everybody. Welcome to the Football Ramble preview show. Spurs host Liverpool this weekend and Luton have been disrespected. It's Friday 29th of September. I'm Marcus Speller.
I'm Jim Campbell.
I'm Andy Brassel.
And I'm Vish Huntaraja.
Oi, oi, everybody. Friday is upon us, as if it was never going to be the case, Andy Brassel. I'd like to start by quoting the great man Pitbull. Every day above ground is a great day. Despite taking the tube here, my goodness, we're alive, man!
Is he a vole? Why is he...
Pitvole.
He tweeted that yesterday.
Also, having been Mr. Worldwide, he's conquered everything above land, so now he's gone subterranean.
As someone said, I
How
think
far does
he's
this go?
I think he's banned for whatever reason for entering Iran. So he's technically not Mr. Worldwide.
Maybe he's tunnelling into Iran. And he's going to pop up and go, "You can't keep me out. I'm Mr. Worldwide, baby."
Get him.
Yeah. Run, Pitbull, run.
Oh, dear. Hey, there's a film in the
Pitbull
making.
causing a diplomatic incident by tunnelling into Iran.
That's what I'm looking forward to this weekend, everybody, because the man works quickly. Also, something that we're looking forward to this weekend, all of us, is Tottenham Hotspur hosting Liverpool on Saturday at 5:30. Ange Postecoglou, the darling of the Premier League right now, with his entertaining Tottenham Hotspur side, are going to be hosting a resurgent Liverpool, Vitush. And that is the stuff that Saturday tea time is made for.
It really is. I also like the fact that these are two managers you can absolutely see getting on where they're not in competition with each other.
Mm-hmm. Big hug.
A huge hug.
Depends
huge
on
hug.
who wins. Pre-match, big hug.
Yeah, but I reckon even after it, they will... If it is a contentious game, they will be shouting at each other while pouring the other person a glass of red.
Okay.
Like, they absolutely have that energy about
This is what will happen. If Liverpool win, big hug. If it's a draw, where Liverpool will be fairly happy with the draw, big hug.
handshake.
Big handshake. If it's a Spurs win, just a big handshake.
Yeah, but we don't...
I think Ange is more likely to hug
see...
him and be a good loser, whereas Klopp at times has not been the best of losers.
Yeah, that's fine. But I also
times.
say... but like, I mean, I don't necessarily mind that with Klopp. I'd also say Ange's actually quite a bad loser.
Do you think?
Yeah. You've seen a few times with him where... I'm speaking mainly about his time with Australia, where, like...
So well,
He's still a highly competitive person.
Of course, they're all competitive people. You
He's
know.
not going like as much as we all want to sit on his lap here and tell him what we want for Christmas. You know, he will slap you.
Okay.
But I think the most fascinating thing about this is, to me, they're two of the most exciting teams in the league right now because you don't really know how things are going to pan out. There's like an unknowable quality to both of them, and both in quite an exciting way. So. Just the idea that like a lot of them they're basically playing brand new midfields now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the key to it, isn't it? The key to the fun, because they've not figured themselves out yet, and therefore, because there's such new combinations in both sides, other teams don't really know how to set up against them. So it could be a bit all over the shop.
Yeah,
in theory.
Well, speaking of those midfielders and whatnot, Alexis McAllister. Apparently, as he's such a favourite for Jürgen Klopp that he's been nicknamed his son.
Bit much, that, isn't it?
Pet.
Yeah, so we're going to have two sons on the pitch. You could say.
Three, if you count Madison.
Oh my! Oh
and
wow!
I would.
And I mean,
now you've opened that can of worms. There might be some others, but we can't be bothered.
We've talked about him being a
Robertson,
avuncular, but maybe,
they're all sons,
maybe he's
aren't
more dadular.
Well, interesting you say that because new signing Vicky van der Ven was talking about Postecoglou's man management this week and how he's been building squad harmony. And he said he's bringing us together like a family. He's more like a dad or something.
He was in a car with Ben Haynes in the excellent Driving Home with Mickey van der Ven.
So he was. Do you know what? When I saw that, I thought to myself, this is way better than James Corden.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. That was my same thought process. Also, the big reveal in that no one's really talked about is the fact that Van der Ven was in the stadium as a fan for the semi-final where Lucas Moura came back against Ajax.
Oh, so this is one big revenge mission.
He's a double agent.
Oh, I see.
I'm wondering, you know how Neil Warnock fantasised about taking over Sheffield Wednesday and sort of bringing them down from the inside? Do we reckon Van der Ven's doing this?
Maybe.
I don't. for the sake
it's going to wait to get them to a final and then screw them.
Andy, look, we've got enough bloody conspiracy theories nowadays. There'll be people listening to this going, if he makes a bad pass or something, there it is.
Yeah, save it for your Substack, Andy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My goodness. But yes, he said that we're like brothers together and we do this for each other. We talked about Postecoglou, of course, a lot, as everybody has done, understandably so. But there is such a great harmony in this squad. And it is kind of a bit Liverpool-like. We've seen over the years Klopp do this with his Liverpool sides. So it will be interesting to see who has the greatest squad harmony, because that is what the prize is on Saturday.
So yeah, if you lose, you'll never get to see his bloke who's supposedly your father again. That's what's at stake here. It says a lot though, doesn't it? In that, like, I feel like players are a lot more open and thus more emotive, or certainly we see more emotion from them. But the game itself is a bit more cold and calculating, and so you need the middle ground of guy who can do both.
Yes,
and these are two managers who are, certainly we see a lot more of the personal skills than necessarily with other managers. Obviously, people talk about Klopp in a certain way behind closed doors, and obviously he's very different with how he is with the media. But it's most evident in these two, I think, about like, God, they're really in touch with that kind of emotional side of the players.
I think when we talk about Ange Postecoglou getting over hurdles at Spurs, and it felt for a lot of people, I guess, from the outside, that the North London derby was that, because they went there, especially after the first half hour, took the game to Arsenal really good, and came out probably feeling better from that draw as well. I think when you speak to Spurs fans, before this, they're thinking, okay, this is a major hurdle because we never beat Liverpool.
Yeah, well, you're right. Yeah, Liverpool are unbeaten in their last 12 games.
Yeah, and it's the potential for them to put a marker down.
But we have seen some great games with these two.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always got big ding-dong potential here, isn't it? And it's very sort of difficult to predict how it will go, because Liverpool were excellent at Anfield against West Ham, as we all saw. But West Ham, they got at them a little bit. They had a go at them. They took the game to them. So there is the potential there for Spurs to do exactly the same thing. And Spurs are far better equipped to do that as well. So it's really, really difficult to predict the way this one's going to go. You would think Spurs probably fancy it more than they have done in a long time.
Well, you would say so. I mean, I find it incredible that, as I say, Spurs haven't beaten them in 12. Yeah, when you remember some of the games, the 2-2s at Anfield, at times, and that was when Liverpool were playing, it was sort of peak Klopp era at Liverpool, and you thought, actually, I think Spurs might have their number a bit here, the counter-attacking style and the way they play. So it will be interesting. I mean, there are worries about James Maddison's knee ahead of the game, but it's likely he'll be fit to start, because that would be a big loss for them, of course. Up the other end of the pitch, Andy, you've been talking about Darwin Nunez a little bit this season, of course, and he said recently, and you've talked about his time at Benfica, where, of course, scored a lot of goals, which is why Liverpool went for him. He said, the first year went very badly for me. In the second, I exploded. And you've tipped him to really ignite the season.
Yeah, well, he scored 6 goals in his first season at Benfica, and that was it. I think he's been a little bit harsh on himself, because he wasn't a passenger. He was creative. He made stuff happen.
Definitely, Ian would never be a passenger.
No, exactly. But even when he wasn't scoring goals, he would make stuff happen. But he had suspension, injury, then there was COVID in that first season. So there are a lot of extenuating circumstances. But yeah, I always had this feeling that if you look at it, like goals per minute or goal contributions per minute, by far the most impactful player of Liverpool so far this season. So if you have good Salah, and if you have Darwin starting more and more and more, Liverpool have got something going. But as we were saying on a Ramble Reacts yesterday, actually, Marcus, I mean, Jim was talking before about how West Ham had their bit at Anfield. Bournemouth had their bit at Anfield as well. As I was saying to you, I think Liverpool's results have been quite a bit better than the performances so far. The game against Newcastle, they never should have won in a million years. And of course, it's huge credit to them and Darwin that they did win that.
Shows the character of the side.
Yeah, of course. But I just think for Liverpool, there's a huge margin of progression still, even though they're doing quite well results-wise. Whereas with Spurs, how much better can they get than they currently are, do you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. I was going to ask Jim if he saw anything in the North London derby. Like, obviously it must have been hard for you because of the
I had my eyes shut
of the North London derby. But I wondered like how much of what is spoken about as Spurs you saw in the flesh in such a big game, in their biggest game so far, as like long term, if that makes sense, or like something they can carry into this weekend at least.
Their press was brilliant. Really, that's the best Arsenal have been pressed this season.
Right.
And if they can keep that up, that's always the concern for a team that starts really, really well, isn't it? That maybe one bad result derails it and you kind of revert to type and you don't play in the same way. But that was the thing that caused Arsenal the most problems. I mean, Jorginho's mistake comes as a direct consequence of that. So, I mean, maybe you argue it's not a mistake for that reason. That was the thing that was most different about them from past seasons because, obviously under Conte and Mourinho, they weren't on the front foot. And this is what Spurs fans have been saying for years as well. Like that is the style of play that they've always kind of had and that they've always wanted and that they've become known for and that they put a lot of stock in as part of their identity, and that does appear to be back. So that was the most notable change, I think.
But they're up against the press master himself,
Jürgen
Klopp.
Indeed.
It could end up being like a big scrum.
But I think
or an explosion. They might split the atom.
You say that. Lars Sivertsen was saying, if you look at the numbers closely, he was saying to me that Liverpool don't press as much this season as they have done in previous seasons, which I think is interesting.
One of the things they seem really good at is they kind of embrace being a bit more chaotic.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why Nunez is having quite a good start to this season, because he's just chaos.
Yeah.
He's like, I know this. I remember this. Like, even Szoboszlai, who has had a great start to the season, the idea that, he's actually, a figure of calm in there is wild.
Yeah. You don't introduce him for anything other than hero ball.
Yeah,
that's what he's there for. He's your Kobe Bryant, basically.
But they're still feeling it out, though, aren't they, Liverpool? Because you're right, they don't press like they used to. Because in that midfield, it was very industrious. It was brilliant. But I mean, players like Ronaldo or Henderson when he was fit. You remember?
And it's still taking shape as well.
It's taking shape exactly, and they're kind of feeling it out. To me, and this would perhaps be what Liverpool fans will be hoping for. If you remember at the start of last season, when Manchester City took a little bit of time getting used to it, was it Haaland up front and one or two other names in there? They were implementing a slightly different way of doing things, and it did take. I mean, in that first sort of 5 or 6 months of the season, you didn't think that they would go and win the treble. Perhaps you didn't think it was outrageous, of course, but they took on and then boom, off they went. And perhaps we may see that with Liverpool, because I agree with you, Andy. I think that their results have been better than their performances, but they're still unbeaten. They've won 5 out of 6 in the league, and they're the ones. It's early days, of course. They're only 2 points above Spurs, but they're the ones ultimately keeping pace with Man City.
Depending on the points balance, obviously, where exactly City are. If they're in the top 3 in December, January, they're laughing. They've got a platform to do something pretty amazing, haven't they?
Yeah, indeed they have. Speaking of Liverpool strikers, or certainly a former one, did you see Luis Suarez scoring an overhead kick at his son's 10th birthday party?
He can't turn it off, can he? He'll be doing this when he's 90.
Yeah.
And there will be physical consequences for it, but he will keep doing it.
It was a beauty.
It really was.
It was impressive.
I mean, it's a load of 10-year-olds, but it's still...
Yeah, but it's still
an overhead kick.
It's not like he's just running rings around them and then just slotted one past the helpless lad in goal.
Yeah.
It was actually...
I mean, all the kids will want to see him do that.
Yeah,
there was a pitch invasion, wasn't there, afterwards?
Yeah, there is that as well. I mean, it's not like, like if I don't know. You could imagine Jamie Vardy at a kid's birthday party, just mugging
baiting the kids.
Yeah, mugging off.
He would be, wouldn't he? Shithouse everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Blowing out the candles.
I'll have the first slice.
Yeah.
No, I think there were 2 things that it really reminded me of. Firstly, do you remember that time when Bayern were on tour in New York City and Xabi Alonso and Arturo Vidal played, I think, 38-year-olds?
Right.
On a pitch by the Hudson River. It was amazing.
Well, not 38-year-olds, 30.
Yes. Gap
children.
8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yes. It was an amazing combination if you think about it, because Xabi Alonso can hit any pass he wants, and Arturo Vidal has no problem with 2-footing kids.
Yeah.
So it works really well. The other thing it reminded me of is when it was my youngest son's 10th birthday party a couple of months ago.
Still not passing the ball, Andy.
Yeah, I think I told you about this. They brought on the parents for the last 10 minutes, and so I thought, I was having fun, being a bit respectful, playing quite well, and I got absolutely flattened. And I looked round, and it was my 11-year-old.
Yes.
Oh.
And the thing is, that sort of full-on slide tackle where you take everything for 11 and 12-year-olds is known as a Brexit. And he simply stood over me and he went, "Brexit means Brexit, Dad."
Really?
Can you believe that?
It's known as a Brexit?
Yes.
Yeah, Brexit tackle, yeah.
Oh,
like properly clearing someone out.
The party organiser, /ref, gave me a sympathy penalty. It was awful.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad we could.
Have you handed over the keys to your house yet?
Yeah.
They were never mine.
True enough. Well, speaking, Andy, of tough physical contact, did you see that former Liverpool player Jermaine Pennant fought Matt Hancock on an episode of SAS Who Dares Wins?
I saw how Jermaine Pennant really let the country down by not properly
massively.
getting stuck into him.
Well, it's a bit stuck in a bit, didn't he?
I mean, he won.
Yeah, I mean,
and also it's a massive mismatch.
Totally, but I mean, TV's very cynical, isn't it? The producers of that show know exactly what happens if you essentially get Matt Hancock on to get someone to beat him up in a promo, and everyone thinks, I want a little bit more of this. Matt Hancock's a little worm with no integrity, so he'll be up for it.
Yeah. He won't think to himself, that guy's a former professional footballer. Do you know, I might sit this one out.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where if 3 years ago you predicted that, you might have gone, yeah, no, I can see that happening. It sounds like it should sound weirder than it does.
Yeah. Oh, dear me. Well, yeah, we are looking forward to Spurs versus Liverpool. Should be more evenly balanced than that Jermaine Pennant, Matt Hancock bout, of course. Aston Villa play Brighton on Saturday. They get the Premier League underway, of course, at 12:30 tomorrow. Brighton third in the table, 5 wins from 6. Great start from them. The big news coming out of Brighton, if you like, or really from Madrid, actually, concerning Brighton, is that Real Madrid reportedly want Roberto De Zerbi to be their new manager when Carlo Ancelotti leaves at the end of the season.
Stuck that knife in early, haven't they? Unsettling from September.
Dibs.
God's sake.
Dibs. Yeah. That's basically what they've done there.
They know what they're doing.
Absolute dicks.
I mean, if you are sitting there as Real Madrid, basically,
you unless you do whatever you want.
Exactly,
right?
But basically what you're doing is that scene in Lock, Stock when the bloke gets chucked out of the card game and the bouncer throws him out, much bigger bloke, closes the door, slams right in his face, and he's just, give me over! Wankers! Wankers! That's all he's got, and then he calmly just walks off. That's basically what Brighton will be doing.
But
soon enough.
I love De Zerbi, but do you not think he's meeting the room here? Because really, they want Xabi Alonso, and they will get Xabi Alonso. And when you talk about going for coaches far too early or players far too early and ruining the season, in Germany, that's fine. Remember, Julian Nagelsmann served out a year's notice at RB Leipzig. Before
it's not the Premier League, Andy. We do things properly here. But Xabi Alonso, though, perhaps they're thinking maybe he'll want a little bit more time at Bayer Leverkusen because Alonso is a switched-on guy, and he's thinking to himself, "What, Real Madrid straight away? Do you know what? I'm actually enjoying this."
Also,
I don't think it's the other way round because for me, De Zerbi won't get to do what he does and what he's so good at doing at Real Madrid.
But I wasn't talking about De Zerbi. I was talking about Alonso. I think Alonso would think it's perhaps too early for Real Madrid. Keep earning your stripes. He'll get his chance. And so therefore, Real Madrid, this is a backup.
No one stays at Leverkusen a year extra. If they want him, he'll go next summer.
All right,
I think that's pretty clear. And also, you can already see from Xabi Alonso, he will be able to do it really well. Okay. Now, De Zerbi, who I love as a coach, I think there are two things. Firstly, I think there's the Mauricio Pochettino comparison in that, there was always the feeling with him at Spurs, you are never going to get it this good again in terms of
I know what you mean.
Authority, in terms of influence. Obviously, it went a bit wrong in terms of transfers in the end.
Giving the lemons a chance.
Exactly. How long do you stick with that? And I think De Zerbi has found something really special, like so special at Brighton.
Yeah.
They're the perfect club for him, and he is the perfect club for them. Also,
and it's Real Madrid, though. I know what you're doing. You're the football purist and romantic. He's talking
but
and I agree with you, and I hope.
It's common sense, because the fact is, anyone knows he's going to get shit canned after 4 months.
Andy, we all know this.
We
all know it.
Yeah, but
we've seen this sort of thing play out so often.
But as well, I think the extra angle to that, if you look at the start of Brighton's Euro campaign, and if you look at Shakhtar's Champions League campaign under De Zerbi, he doesn't really know that much about playing in Europe yet. Certainly not successfully. He's got to get used to that. If you're Real Madrid and you're sensible, you let that play out, because you don't bring in a coach who doesn't really know what they're doing in European competition. Now, that doesn't mean he won't get there, and I think the performances have been better than the results for De Zerbi's teams in European competition. But for that, he's a novice, and that at Real Madrid is not an important thing. It is the only important thing.
Andy, I agree with you. But where your point perhaps won't come to, or your opinion won't come to fruition, is when you said if you're Real Madrid and you're sensible.
No, but I think they are nowadays.
Okay.
I think
I certainly hope that this doesn't happen and it's all forgotten about soon enough. But I don't trust Real Madrid not to ruin things.
I would think the case for De Zerbi as well, though, is that he is a really, really excellent tactician. He's kind of got the better of a lot of really, really astute technical coaches in a league that is absolutely packed with them. Mm-hmm. You would argue maybe the highest technical level in the world at the moment. We used to sort of scoff at Sky saying the Premier League was the best league in the world, etc., etc. But some of the best coaches in the world are undeniably here. Yeah. And De Zerbi has had their number on many occasions.
And every week is a battle in the Premier League. Obviously, Sheffield United might not back that up the other week, but it's not quite like it is in Spain.
But even globally, it has been with them, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, perhaps this Europa League campaign is a European audition for De Zerbi in their eyes.
Yeah, and I think the other half of that is if Real Madrid are getting younger, he is a developer of players. That's where he really excels.
But they don't have the sort of the Galacticos, to use their term, as perhaps they did. But he's up against Unai Emery on Saturday.
I thought you meant for the Real Madrid job. There's a reveal.
That would seem unlikely. But those two coaches going head to head. Vitushin, how do you see that one going? Because Villa not had the best of starts, but Emery, as we know, has been pretty good at Villa.
Yeah, although it's they feel like a bit yo-yo-y in a safe place.
Yes.
Like you don't really necessarily know how good they are. Someone said, I think maybe it was on a rival podcast, which someone told me, I wasn't listening to it. But they were saying, the point was made that like Villa feel like they're in that space where if you beat Aston Villa, you're a good team, and if you lose to Aston Villa, you're a bad team. They're basically that kind of that marker. I think Brighton should find this quite comfortable because they're
quite comfortable.
Yeah, you know what? I think they will. Yeah, I know obviously it'll come back to bite me, as many things do when I say them in this room. But something about this particular matchup feels that Brighton are just a bit more steady, a bit more aware of their strengths. I think Villa are entertaining to watch, but rely a bit more on profiting off the mistakes of others, and they've done that very well in parts this season. I just don't think Brighton make that many mistakes.
They're off at the back of a very disappointing week.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I think if you look at in the space of 6 days, they've managed to lose their first game in the Conference League, which, as we keep saying, they're the heavy favourites for, and get knocked out of the Carabao Cup, which, as you were saying, Marcus, should have been a major target for them.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, we touched on Aston Villa's wet shirt controversy on this week's Ramble Uncut. Of course, where their Castor shirts have got sort of a wet look, and the players are a bit unhappy with this. Newcastle apparently ended their Castor shirt deal after complaints about the quality of them.
Yeah,
Wolves have had similar, or Wolves fans have had similar complaints.
It's a funny old one, isn't it? This
the wet look thing is interesting to me as well, because from what I can gather from it, it's wet because it's sweat, so it looks wet because it is wet. It's like it's not a wet look as such.
I thought I had a handle on this. I don't have a handle on this at all now.
I don't know, Vish, you were going to say something.
Well, it basically came to the fore because the women's team complained about it first, because of obviously in women's sports there's a degree of consideration that has to go towards image and things like that. And but like as you said, like Newcastle had complained about it before and they changed it. And Villa men have complained about it this season as well. And part of it is also because it, not just because of the look, but it actually just retains sweat. So a lot of those, the way kids are designed is to get sweat away from your body.
That's why you don't have the old cotton kits like they used to.
Like 80s Serie A.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, it's supposed to air out, and it just doesn't really air out.
It looks horrendous to play in, doesn't it?
The
players are talking about that, and if it adds a bit of weight as well, and they've been saying it's really uncomfortable, unpleasant experience to play in, and get on with it, etc. But we're talking about marginal gains here, and if you're physically uncomfortable and your opponents aren't, then it's going to make a difference, right?
It's a funny old one. But they are at the Cup, Andy, as you mentioned. Manchester United faced Palace after beating them 3-0 in the Carabao Cup, as we know. We talked about that before. Did you see that their draw against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup is the 12th consecutive home draw Manchester United have had in domestic cups. And this has sparked some conspiracy theories / angry comments on X. There was talk about...
Same thing, really.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Where can you find X?
It's where Twitter used to be.
Yeah, it's twitter.com, isn't it? That's right. Just to clear that up.
Did you see... I always get John and Don Goodman mixed up. Very different men. It's very much Don Goodman who was doing the draw for the cup, and there was a few Newcastle fans saying, "Oh, he very much."
We know which particular segment of those fans, don't we?
Because former Sunderland
he looks
player.
and he's reached in the bowl.
Do the accent.
No.
You're doing it outside.
Yeah, I
don't
know.
do it
He does
here.
it all the time, doesn't he?
You don't get it on X.
They were suggesting that Goodman was reaching for the warm ball, which was number 16. So they were drawn away to Manchester United.
He goes. One of the comments I saw was, "Why is he looking in the bowl when he's pulling out one of the balls?" I was like, "Where do you want him to look?"
Yeah. Also, the bowl.
Why is he not speaking into the bowl?
The bowl has a little hole in it, doesn't it? A tiny little hole.
Yes.
And you put your hand through that hole, and there's a bit that covers the rest of it, so you can't see the ball.
It is quite literally and figuratively airtight.
Yeah. I like it. It was really obvious because I didn't actually see the draw, and so stupidly I just looked at the still images and then went and scrolled back to watch it. And I wanted him to be really brazen, just take it out, look at it, be like, no, put it back. No, back. Oh, yeah, there it is, yeah.
Also, as well, I always think of Don Goodman as a Wolves player. That's in in mind's eye. I don't think I know he played for Sunderland for a while, but why am I trying to rationalise it? Let's go for a break.
Either lean into the conspiracy or don't.
There we are.
Hutchinson, his first touch isn't great, but he's still going. And it is another penalty for Sligo Rovers. He did catch him, I think, Declan. And an opportunity for Sligo Rovers to take the lead.
Outside the shagging box. Excuse my French.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Right then, a lot of games happening on Saturday tomorrow at 3 p.m, which is traditional. And good to see if you hate watching games on television.
It's the first time Newcastle United will be on Saturday 3 p.m. in 2023.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, can't take your eyes off the Biff Posse, can you? But you will have to tomorrow. Everton versus Luton Town. Everton have secured back-to-back wins for the first time in a year. They're going somewhere. Has Sean Dyche dispelled any chance of Phil Neville coming in to replace him, Jim?
I think the Phil Neville spectre will loom large for a long time. Yeah, I think he'll always be floating around there.
A bit like Zidane at Real Madrid.
Exactly.
At some point,
an inevitability to it.
Yeah, there is.
Inevitability to it.
Well played, sir. Luton Town, of course, suffered a defeat against Exeter City in the week, meaning their only victory this season has been a 3-2 win over League Two Gillingham. Their first point of the season, of course, was last weekend against Wolves at home. All this perhaps is what made Garth Crooks write in his BBC column early this month. It's good to see that the tangerine colours of Luton back in the big league once more, but I can't take them seriously and see them down by Christmas.
Can't take them seriously.
By Christmas?
Also,
down by Christmas?
Mathematically impossible.
Don't start a sentence poetically and then start it with "see them down by Christmas."
Yeah,
I know. Ridiculous.
Also, I would say I was amazed that the BBC still give him an article.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's like Mark Lawrenson hung around for a long time as well. I imagine he's still sort of barely employed by them for the odd column and things. And it does seem like a weird. Is it essentially just like you've been a good servant? Mm-hmm. We do have some carriage clocks, but we'll give them to you in a couple of years.
Do you think they think that it's a satirical piece?
Maybe.
They think,
his team of the week often seems like a joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so people obviously enjoy this for all the wrong reasons. We might as well keep it going. Yeah, Garth's none the wiser, but he's still producing the goods.
Yeah, I haven't watched Match of the Day, but Luton seem a bit rubbish. Yeah, that's what it feels like, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does a bit. Yeah. Well, Rob Edwards, Luton manager, of course, responded saying, Garth Crooks' comments hurt us. He said, we've reached out to Mr. Crooks so he can come in and we can show him what we do with our plan and that we're not a team to be laughed at.
I love the thought of that. Hi, everyone. This is Garth. Remember the guy who thinks you're an absolute joke? Yeah, so just, show him your stuff.
I was going to say, I don't think firstly, Rob Edwards, why are you taking anything Garth Crooks says seriously? Firstly.
Yeah.
It shouldn't hurt you. Because, again, it's Garth Crooks. But secondly, when you say, well, we can come in and show what we're doing with our plan and so on, as loath as I am in defence of Garth Crooks, he doesn't care. He's pointing at your performances and your lack of points.
Yeah, that's the last thing he wants. He doesn't want insight. Unless Rob Edwards was saying that, hey, you should come on, just step into this room. No windows in it. Yeah, you noticed that, didn't you, Garth?
I don't. Very strange if that way happened.
I'm not suggesting for a moment Ron Edwards is going to beat the shit out of Garth Crooks in a darkened room.
The most
not yet. Maybe in a couple of years on SAS, Who Dares Win?
Perhaps the most unnecessary beating we could think of in the footballing world. But there we are. They're away to Everton, though, Andy, so they've got a chance.
I mean, because Everton have had those back-to-back wins, I mean, doesn't it just imply that Luton are going to go and win their 1-0?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Do you not think there's something feels a bit more, I don't know, a bit more real with Everton?
You could just say Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Well, James Garner's performance in midweek as well. He was someone that I didn't really want to see leave Manchester United, and it feels like with him and Onana in the middle, there's something to work with there, at least some kind of stability at least, which you're not going to get from Dominic Calvert-Lewin because, great that he's back, but he's not exactly someone you can rely on for 30 games a season.
No.
Do you think? Yeah, I mean,
not yet. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, while he is back, you've got to pass to him as much as possible, basically, quickly, because this could
and Beto as well.
Look, Everton have clearly got a squad there which can stay in the Premier League. It's a Premier League squad.
They've trimmed, and it feels
albeit a lower table one.
Yeah, and a less fatty squad.
Yes,
in terms of bits you'd want to cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like from a piece of meat, not yourselves.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Genuinely, do you think Luton might get something, Andy? Or are you just looking at Everton's?
Maybe
luck?
Because the thing is, it's not luck though, is it? It's what there is with Everton is even if it's gone right on the pitch for 2 successive games, which is definitely a positive thing for them and for their fans. There's just such a climate of gloom over the club, and the feeling that it's just not. It's not getting better.
Yeah, and those 2 wins, by the way, they were on the road.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned, didn't you, on the...
They don't score at home.
That's right. Their scoring record at home is piss poor.
That wasn't me who mentioned that, actually. I think it might have been Vish.
Maybe it was Vish, but it was certainly mentioned.
I'm a legend.
Yeah, exactly. it's only been mentioned on this podcast. You can't find their scoring stats anywhere other than the Football Ramble.
No, we've copyrighted them.
Yeah.
It was such a waste of money. It was so poorly thought out.
The other thing to consider, Luton in the last week they've been pretty unlucky with Sambi Lokonga, who's now out for I think a couple of months with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, that's huge, isn't it? Probably till after Christmas.
Yeah, and I think they've spent just under 20 million compared to Burnley, who've spent 90 odd million and are lower than them in the table.
But that's the point, isn't it? They're not at the Burnley stage yet, although that would be a good template for them to copy in the future.
I reckon they could. I don't know. It's easier said than done, and I think even me positing this as an antidote to their woes is mostly out of ignorance, really. But they're one of the most long ball teams in the league. It might even just be about leaning into that. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just do what got us here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams lose sight of that.
I don't think there's an issue with that, is there?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams lose sight of that because they kind of think, right, we need to prepare ourselves for the Premier League. Specifically, teams as Burnley have done, who played attractive football last year, and you thought, they'll come in and do that because it worked for Brentford before them. Obviously, it's not
Brentford
working.
Very direct,
but then you think,
they are, but they they pass the ball around. They have a very clear structure that is based around ball playing players. Yeah, and I suppose maybe Luton might just. I suppose they kind of have already this early start of the season, but. Maybe it's about embracing that a bit more, especially with the Lokonga injury.
Well, yeah, I think you've got something. I mean, it was a few years ago. There were stats, wasn't there, saying that the teams that came up from the Championship had basically tried to keep it basic, play direct, were much more likely to stay up than those who had a proper go. I mean, I know for the team that I go and watch, Fulham. I go back to Jukanovic, yeah. I mean, it's sensational football they played in the Championship. Came up and it just didn't work for a moment, and he was out of a job soon. But with Marco Silva, who you would say is a high level of coach, especially for a team like Fulham, he has managed to implement that. Yes, the signings of, Joao Paulinho keeping him crucial. But sometimes one does have to sort of have a rethink. You're winning every week or every other week, at least in the Championship. That's why you've been promoted. I think Luton are finding it tough, and he's got to find a way here. And we shall see. But against Everton, at home, as you said, Andy, it's such doom and gloom at the club. this is a chance. It really is. And by the way, while we're talking about clubs who, financial situations are quite sort of perilous and whatnot, obviously the news recently as we look down the league, Scunthorpe United's chairman, Dave Hilton, has withdrawn funding from the club. Because the club is in a dire situation. I know we talk about Premier League here on the preview show, but this is worth a mention, I think, because it's such a rubbish story to hear from the world of football. It's also announced that they're going to be leaving their home ground over a land dispute. Scunthorpe said they will play home games 16 miles away at Gainsborough Trinity. But Gainsborough have said since Scunthorpe's statement was issued that was without the knowledge and the consent of the club.
Absolute mess.
It is an absolute mess, and it's so sad when you see and hear these things happening to a football club, because that's an important football club for a lot of people.
It is, and it just happens too much. We've seen it happen to other clubs.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen to Bury. We've seen Coventry be displaced over stadium disputes and stuff like that, and playing in a town that isn't theirs. It's just not acceptable.
It isn't, and Scunthorpe have been in the Football League for 72 years.
Yeah,
I mean that's what you're dealing with there. Shocking. We certainly hope that situation manages to sort itself out, but it doesn't look it's going to anytime soon. Back to the Premier League. West Ham United host Sheffield United tomorrow at 3 p.m. Sheffield United will need a much better performance after that 8-0 shellacking.
Will they?
A much better performance, Vish. It seems like an obvious thing to say, but what before any smarmy comments was if I said a better performance, would they take 7-0? I thought I'd put the word much in there.
So 6. That was genuinely quite sad to watch.
Yeah.
Like it went beyond, like Newcastle were just walking through them.
And so early in the season as well.
Yeah, and it kind of spoke of so many. Yeah, I mean, like even like Wes Foderingham, who wouldn't have had a good day out last week, hasn't really had a great start to the season in terms of like the number of shots he's faced and conceded and stuff like that. And it feels like structurally they're a little bit all over the place, or rather there is no structure.
Yeah.
And when you've got someone like Higginbottom who has to, well, I think has actually acquitted himself really well this season, but he's already had to address the fact that referees are giving his team the hurry up on the field because of the way they were wasting time against Spurs. He's now got people talking about them going back to an older manager over his head, and that chat has been lasting about 2 weeks now.
Well, apparently they've reportedly spoken to Chris Wilder.
But that started.
But yeah, right,
2 weeks
it's there,
ago.
yeah.
So it's going to be there. It'll be there on the weekend. They're playing against a side who are very comfortable at home, who basically love getting under other teams' skin and really trying to stretching open their weaknesses. And even this doesn't look a good match on paper.
No. Mikel Antonio will be looking forward to this after the demoralising defeat of last week. And the scenes at the end of it, the players just looked like they were going through a sort of existential crisis as much as anything. And you wonder, in fact, going back to what we were talking about, how to approach coming up to the Premier League and adjusting your game, it feels like they haven't settled on what they're going to do there and how to approach this season.
But don't you think there's part of it that because that's such a bizarre result against Newcastle, or such a damaging result, you can lose sight of the fact that is possibly just a red herring. There was nothing in the other games to suggest that was going to happen from either team.
Well, I mean, they were so close to beating Spurs the previous week at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, the game they had against Manchester City as well. Yeah. I mean, clearly there was something else to concentrate on. There appeared to be other major issues. The fact is they can't defend from crosses like they did against Newcastle. Well, they can't defend globally like they did against Newcastle, but particularly from crosses, that's where West Ham could absolutely take them to bits. I think that's the major
with Ward-Prowse's delivery and so on.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. And it will be an interesting one for Sheffield United because how much has this affected the players? Because as you say, there was the results weren't too inspiring since they've been up. But if you look at them,
the performances have been okay.
Yeah, they've not conceded more than 2 goals in any of the matches, and they've played Spurs away. They've played Manchester City. One or two other teams who perhaps not known for scoring a lot of goals like Palace, say, or Everton. But still, though, they're there. There's something to hang your hat on.
And I think once you frame it,
but does this smash that to bits? Can it rebuild?
I guess this is where it's all on the coach.
Exactly.
Can you just say, look, you're going to get thrashed a couple of times in the Premier League.
Well, he kind of said that after the game.
Just get over it. I mean, if you can make the players believe that,
and that's
fine.
The question.
If he can get them on board like the previous performances, I mean, they've definitely had spells in games where they've looked decent. I think you look at the City game, you look at the Forest game. The game at Forest, they could easily have won that in the second half before conceding that late goal to Chris Wood. And when you put that against the expectation of what Sheffield United fans had at the start of the season, I don't think any of them really expected them to do anything, because I think the rhetoric coming out of Luton is quite different, because there's a sense of, we're grateful to be here. Everyone outside is saying we're shit and we're going to show them. Whereas with Sheffield United, their fans have been saying the whole time, we're going to finish bottom of the table.
Yeah,
there's nothing there.
Yeah, well,
I think it feels like the team have responded quite positively to that. Actually,
on West Ham's side of the ledger, these are the games where David Moyes will be saying, right, these are the ones we take care of, lads.
Especially at home.
Yeah, because last season, obviously, it ended so wonderfully with winning the Conference League. For parts of the season, they were looking nervously over their shoulders. Now, of course,
most of it.
Yeah, indeed. As the season would finish, that wasn't the case. And I don't think West Ham will be in a relegation battle this season as well. They're currently 7th. They've got 10 points from the first 6 games.
And they're off the back of losing 2 games. So, to a high-quality opposition in Liverpool and Man City. But this is, as you say, this is one that right, let's get back to it.
Exactly, yeah. And if you really want to bring the club forward, they're still in the Carabao Cup. They've positive result in Europe and so on. It's all about putting these away. And a side who have just been hammered, they'll be thinking, right, we're the hammers. We do the hammering as well.
Yeah, can't hammer a hammer.
Yeah,
they'll be thinking
hammer a blade.
Yeah, well, they will try.
Actually, yeah, well, you do, but you make it sharper, don't you?
Yeah, so
got to be careful.
Yeah,
could backfire.
Hammer the handle.
There you go. See. It all makes sense in the end. Great shame that Jesse Lingard won't be signing for West Ham, isn't it?
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. Moyes basically said they had enough players in that position. So.
Yes. Apparently.
Weird for him to choose money over West Ham. Has it happened before?
Well, he's... Are you suggesting that Jesse Lingard...
I'm saying, really. I'm not even suggesting.
What I was going to say is Jesse Lingard being pictured training with Steven Gerrard's Al Attifaq this week is to do with money and not the desire as a child to play in the Saudi Arabian League.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know anymore.
But he is just having a trial there, by the way.
I feel a little bit for Jordan Henderson here. Imagine someone's going, Jordan, we got one of your old England teammates coming in. Oh, brilliant. Who is it?
Oi, oi.
Oh, cool. He's living out here. All right, cool. I guess that's cool. All right.
You paying him how much? How much?
Also, that's deep from Lingard. He's got a trial for them. No one else trialled. He didn't trial, did he? He's not even a permanent member of staff.
Yeah, but that's where he is. I'll go there. How have I got to go there? We'll give you a trial. Yep, fine. He's here. But apparently him having a trial at West Ham cost the club over 300 grand.
What?
Putting him up in a hotel. Is he banned from... There's a problem with him and his driving licence at the moment, is all I'll say. Because I want to be...
He can't find it.
Has he been taking helicopters to training then?
Well, they've been providing him with transport, but maybe. But it's cost him a fair few quid.
At least choose Uber Eco, mate. Why is Benz picking you up?
Picking up Lingard's bill is not what you want to be doing.
No.
So, yeah. But talking of Saudi Arabia, did you see that the Saudi Pro League is reportedly planning to tempt Premier League referees to Saudi Arabia?
Well, we can fucking have them.
Paul Heckingbottom will be pleased. Take them. You can have them all. But Clattenburg went out there, didn't he, Andy?
Yeah, exactly.
Paving the way.
It's no surprise, given that they've sort of tapped into them for consultancy services before. So, logical next step.
Can I ask?
Logical next step.
Can I ask, because of the status of the Premier League as a product globally, is it because the Premier League referees are more recognisable rather than of a higher standard?
Well, I think
no, but I think the interesting thing is where we may complain about our referees a lot here. I think Premier League refereeing in other countries is looked at as of a very high standard.
Also, the Premier League is...
Familiarity breeds contempt and all that sort of stuff.
It does. That is true. And a part of that is the Premier League is seen as quite a clean league.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, exactly.
And it does flow.
It absolutely flows.
Yeah.
That's just our football, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is a logical step. Will they? I mean, in a way, they have already done this, but will they start buying our fans? Come on. Let's see how much
you asked me for an offer.
Yeah.
You are literally touting for an offer.
Everyone has their price.
Have you
I sit in the neutral end at the Hammersmith
game lately?
Can I fly back for England games? And then we've got a deal.
You and Hendo.
This is why you defended Jordan Henderson.
You and Hendo on a private jet.
I defended the liberties of this country. I didn't defend Jordan Henderson.
This is why you went into bat for Hendel.
Look, all I'm saying is...
You're saying that should be you out there, not Jesse.
I'm saying that it should be both of us. They're just winning me over. As soon as if Lingard strikes the band up over there, they've got us by the jacket.
You say that. Maguire could well be there by January. You're going to be all over it.
He's too much integrity, that man. Anyway.
Marks his bread, boys.
Now, it's time for this.
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
We know what it means, though. It's Jack's Encyclopedia. If you've not heard the game before, it is a simple game of categories. If you go too slow, I'll play Gary Neville's Orgasm, which will leave you 7 seconds. Official game archivist...
If no one's listened to this before, how have they got hold of that?
You'll pick it up pretty quickly. People know what categories is. And if you've not listened before, what have you been doing? What have you been doing?
Specifically talking about Gary Neville's Orgasm, as you put it.
Indeed.
Also, Jim, can you discipline him? He's been doing the park stance.
He's been.
It's just not appropriate.
He's just showboating.
He's having a go at you.
Let's
getting in your head, then that's on you.
Exactly. Let's leave Jim to host the game, okay, chaps?
Yes. So the official game archivist, Jimmy to the B, has provided us with an update here. Vish moved into third after his 2-0 win over Luke last week, so he's only behind Andy and Marcus in the table.
Only behind us.
But can overtake Marcus with a win here.
Oh, no.
Marcus is the current lineal champion, so it's all to play for. So are we ready for round one? Who am I going to start with? I'm going to start with Vish. All right. So, Vish, you're up first, of course. Players who started or came off the bench for Tottenham in José Mourinho's last game in charge of the club, which was against Everton in April 2021. There are 14 players.
That is a stinker.
It's Oliver Skip.
Oliver Skip.
Bad start.
That's a poor start.
Have you done that?
Poor start, Vish.
Surely Harry Kane.
You'd think, and you'd obviously be right.
I just thought of who's the most Mourinho player I could think of.
Hugo Lloris.
Hugo Lloris was, of course, present.
And I'll go for my second. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Pierre Højbjerg.
Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, he says. Correctly.
I like the way we're going for the most Mourinho-y player.
Yeah.
In that case, can I choose Erik Darwin?
I had him down.
You can, and you'd be correct.
Yeah, I did have him
Well,
down.
mine's the most Mourinho.
Evidently not, mate.
Heung-min Son.
Heung-min Son was also obviously there.
Emerson Royale.
Emerson Royale. Oh, Andy.
You're kidding.
No Emerson Royale.
1-0
So
to
Marcus wins.
idiot.
So the 14 players were Dele Alli, Eric Dyer, Eric Lamela, Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, Hugo Lloris, Joe Rodon, Lucas Moura, Moussa Sissoko.
Oh, his first game.
No, it was his last game.
I had Moura down, actually.
Right.
Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Serge Aurier, Sergio Reguilon, Tanguy Ndombele, and Toby Alderweireld.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves to get sacked for that lineup, didn't he?
Some fine players in
That
there.
is 1-0 to Marcus. And of course, that was players that appeared throughout the game. He did not start with 14 players, although that would also be very, very Mourinho. So
it's worth watching that game back now.
Count the heads.
Second category, the top 12 players who have scored the most Premier League free kicks. So that's 12 players. Marcus, we're going to start with you this time.
James Ward-Prowse.
James Ward-Prowse is, of course, correct.
David Beckham.
David Beckham, also there.
Who's good at free kicks? Anyone? Zola?
Gianfranco
Nice.
Zola is there. Very good.
Yeah, very good.
Ooh.
Sebastian Larsson.
Sebastian Larsson is there with 11.
Oh, that's really
It's lovely.
good.
Very
I like
good.
That
Do you
very
like that?
much. I like that very much.
There's your showboating.
Thierry Henry.
Well played.
Thierry Henry is there.
Slim pickings now.
Ooh, Gerrard?
Steven Gerrard is not there.
Free kicks, you say?
Free kicks, I do say.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Correct.
Oh!
Shut up, Gary.
That's the orgasm, by the way.
That's the orgasm, in case you're wondering.
As if you didn't know.
Christian Eriksen.
Christian Eriksen, he says.
Easy peasy. Easy peasy.
Wow.
Not Christian Eriksen.
Not Christian Eriksen, no.
Would Wayne Rooney be in there?
Wayne Rooney was not in there. The players you were missing were Ian Hart with 10.
Oh, Ian Hart.
Jamie Redknapp with 9.
Jamie Redknapp.
Lauren Robert with 11. Nobby Solano with 9.
Oh, I thought.
And a lovely one here, Morten Gamst Pedersen
Yeah.
with
Love
10.
that. Love that.
Nice.
So there we go.
That's a
Marcus
lovely
wins
That's a
again.
lovely category. That.
Continues
very
his
good.
dominant streak.
Easy peasy. Vish, am I still lineal champion?
Were you before?
Yeah.
Then you are, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You know how this works.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
Don't be a fuckwit. You know how this works. Do your little thing with the keys.
Yeah.
Let us leave. Yeah.
Well, you're staying behind. Your weekend will start on Sunday morning.
It's football. I started the show with football. I ended the show with football. Yeah.
You're giving Vish the tension.
Yeah, I am.
Listen to some other music, you idiot.
Right. I'm just going to do the thank yous and then I'm going to deal with you. Thank you very much for listening to the Football Ramble preview show, part of the Acast Creator Network. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube and Instagram at Football Ramble. And don't forget to subscribe on your podcast app. For most of us, the weekend is officially open, okay? So off your pop. Thank you very much, Andy Brassel.
Thank you for disciplining Vish at last.
Not at all. Thank you, Jim Campbell.
Thank you.
Vish Hunter Raja.
If I'm staying there, you'll stay there. So I don't know what you're happy about.
And that's absolutely
Why
fine.
that little smoke off your face? Lock the door.
I love it.
Rob Edwards, lock the door.
Yeah, don't back doon, double doon. That's what's going on here. Have a lovely weekend, everybody.
You want it
See
there.
you on Monday.
You want it there.
Bloody was there. See you soon.
I don't really have the tension, do I?
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.